What's up, guys? It's me, Charlie, and I guess a lot of people have spoken out about the recent debacle about second dinner's response. Uh, I'd like to just give my thoughts on this entire debacle, this entire saga, if I may. Now, first off, let me state very clearly that I'm not defending second dinner. Overall, I think their entire response to this has been absolutely disgusting. It does nothing good for them as well. Even from a corporate point of view, I'm struggling to understand why they are doing this. Okay, but at the end of the day, I still want to give a very objective view. I still want to give a very objective analysis of what has happened and how it impacts us moving forward and everything. Now, before we go further into this video, I would like to state that I would like to first have a very clear definition, which is the importance of players, whether they are free to play or they are paying customers. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to point out is all players are important, alright, be it free to play or paying customers. Now, but having said that, it is of course important that paying customers, well, obviously they are the real customers in that sense, right? In the traditional sense, the paying customers are the most important customers. And I'm not. I'm a free-to-play player largely. I've only spent money on 2 season pass, right? So paying customers should be given an age. It is only fair that they are given an age, right? I do know that there are many games that is surviving on revenue through cosmetics. Okay, that is fair. That is fair. But having said that, it is also not correct to be upset with a company because they choose to give paying customers an edge, right, in their game. Because after all, these paying customers are the ones supporting the game, supporting the company. They are the one that makes it possible for the game to exist. Alright. And it is needed, it is necessary. Because without these people, the game Marvel Snap wouldn't even exist. Right? And I have seen games that are great, that are fantastic, right? But because, of how the company is not able to maximize profits, okay, it's sorry, not maximize profits, how the company is not able to generate profits, right? The game eventually falls apart, and that is not something we want. That is not something good for anybody, right? Because if second dinner is not able to generate profits, then yeah, the game will eventually collapse, right? But having said that, I'm not supporting their recent uh, recent policies because it's obvious that they are overly greedy, right? Because it's not that second dinner is struggling to make a profit, they are, right? So recent policies are just greedy. Now there's another end of the spectrum where people are saying that, hey, the people making so much fuss, are the free-to-play players and they are not contributing to the bottom line, they are not contributing to the health of the game, etc., etc. The true fact of the matter is no, free-to-play players are also important, and I'm not saying it just because I'm a free-to-play player. Free-to-play player exists to create the player base so that, we actually play with people instead of bots, right? And it's it's also important to have a lot of players regardless to drum up discussion, alright, to drum up discussion about the game, to talk about the game, to get people excited about the game. Free to play players are also the ones who are going to watch, who also contribute a good deal to watching streams, right? That makes the game even more popular, right? To attract new players, okay, to make paying for the streamers worth it, to make the streamers, the content creators job as a Marvel Snap content creator profitable, and to have them continuing doing so, right? So let us first establish that paying customers are very important, right? But free-to-play players are also important. Every single player is important, right? Because without either of it, the game will not function. It will not be able to, be very healthy. Now, the first thing that I want to, now having established this foundation, the first thing that I want to talk about is how did we get here? If you were to ask me, alright, obviously I'm not Second Dinner, I'm not Second Dinner employee, so I can't pinpoint exactly. But if you were to ask me how did we get here, I would say it is because of the new card acquisition system, the switch, alright, the switch back to tokens, right? Now a lot of people will be saying, what do you mean? Whatever do you mean by that, right? Don't get me wrong. I do believe that the new card acquisition, the Switch, is fantastic. It's great. Right? It has allowed me to acquire a lot of cards, right? And let's say there's a new card that we want, and we do not have the. In the past, if we don't have the keys for it, we really have to wait for a long, long time before it rotates back into the spotlight for us to have another shot at it, right? Because tokens are just so hard to acquire and things like that, right? But right now, what we can do is we can just wait for it to rotate, and bam, after once the moment we have saved the tokens, we can get it instantly. So it's so much faster and all. It's a fantastic system. But what has happened along the way, as a byproduct of shifting towards this new economy, what has happened is that players, right, especially players who have been stringent with their spending, with how they go into the spotlights, alright, and especially whales who have already gotten almost every single card, right, is that players now have a very big stash of tokens. Okay. Personally, I'm still short on the newest cards. All right. I've got I'm series 5 complete in terms of the old series 5 collector packs. All right. So I do not have the newest card from the latest season. Okay. But I have a very healthy collection, and I have a remaining stash of around 100,000 tokens. This is what I meant by stash, okay? And it is a very, very big stash. 100,000 tokens means that, I don't have to, if there's a new card that pops up, I don't have to, spend any money. I don't have to spend any real money. I can use that, the 100,000 tokens to, get the card. Alright? And it is a lot because it means for the next 16 cards that's going to appear, that is going to attract me, that is going to motivate me to buy immediately, I'm good. I do not have to spend any additional real money on it, right? And that is a very, very big stash. And I think the stash that everybody have right now is the reason why Second Dinner is panicking, alright? They're looking at, oh my god, nobody's going to spend real money. Nobody will be motivated to spend real money because they have this buffer, right? And they're probably afraid that, the revenue, the profits that they're going to get these few months is going to dip. Did it really dip? I have no idea because I have no matrix from Second Dinner, right? But I am guessing this is the reason why, right? Because people have very big stash that they can use to buffer. They no longer need to, spend money to get the tokens, the resources required to unlock the new card. Right. This is my guess. This is my guess on how did we get here. Right. So Second Dinner is panicking because they realize that hey, people have, a lot of resources, a huge resource stash, and there is a possibility that we are not going to dip into our pockets, and this scares them. Now, as to whether this is correct in terms of it being a fact or in terms of it being a correct thinking that Second Dinner should have, I'll leave it up to you guys. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is what we should not be angry about, right? Because I do think that while we have a right to be angry, while we are, like what I mentioned at the very start of the video, I don't think Second Dinner is doing things right. There are certain things that we should not be angry about, right? The first thing is, right, I know this is going to be very controversial, but people are saying that, hey, look, the card shouldn't be paid war. It shouldn't be, hidden behind uh, real money. Okay. Uh, Honestly, I think that this is a little bit too much, right? Because if you are free to play, then I think it's natural. I think it's only right, all right, that you do not get to access everything, right? That is a true fact of life. Okay, I mean, it's it's just a fact of life. It's just reality, right? If you are not going to pay for things, then obviously you can't get everything, all right? And I don't know. I just think that it's kind of being self-entitled if you expect to get everything free, all right? I mean, look, if you are free to play and then you're going to get every single thing, then why would a company exist to give you a game that is fun to play, constantly being updated for nothing? Would you be that person? Now let's flip the table. If let's say you are a very skilled person in terms of technology, would you create a game, let millions of people play it for free, constantly updating it, or while not making a single cent out of it, right? So I do not think that free to play players should be complaining about such things. Okay, so yeah. What is now? Having said that, I'm not saying that this game should be totally free to play. It should be totally pay to win. Every new card should be gated behind real money, things like that. No, because remember at the very start of the video, I mentioned that it is also healthy. It is also important to maintain a healthy player base, including free to play players. So what happens is, if you were to ask me, I think it's the extent. It is the extent of how many cards are being gated behind and what really happens, you know. And if you were to ask me, if I personally I can accept it if they are going to have events and create cards that is sort of like gated behind real money, I'm okay with it because look, from a point of from a perspective of a free to play player, we are still going to get our four, five new cards every month, and it still keeps the game very fresh to play. All right, it still keeps the game very fresh to play. Uh, People are crying about Kid Omega, but hey, look, Nightmare is insanely fun to play. All right, and if we pick up Nightmare as it is, I'm sure a lot of people are still having a lot of fun, right, with their 620 collectors, with their 616 collectors, okay, with their 514 Iron Man. So yeah, people can still have fun with it, right? Just because you don't have everything, just because you don't have every single card, does not mean that the game is no longer playable. It does not mean that the game is no longer fun for you, right? So I really want to, for those free-to-play players who think that you should have everything free, and any company, not just Second Dinner specifically, but if you think that games should not get their their uh, their characters, their cards behind a paywall, then uh you should be rethinking about that. All right, you should really be rethinking about that. Okay, as to what extent you're willing to accept, well, I guess it really differs from person to person. All right, but this kind of thinking whereby games should only profit off cosmetics is not exactly, sorry about that, it is not something that is very very realistic in that sense. Now the next thing that people will argue against this argument would be, hey, look, but it's crazy, all right, people if Second Dinner is going to get behind meta cards, it's going to protect meta cards, all right, very strong cards from by using a real money wall, by making people pay for it. My answer is the true fact of the true fact of the matter is it's not happening. It is not happening because the meta in Snap moves very fast, right? It moves very fast to the point. Let's use an example. People have been crying about Bacon Bullseye. People have been saying that, oh man, this deck is crazy. Why hasn't it been nerfed? Right? How did it survive so many OTAs without nerfs? The true fact is, till today, there has not been any nerfs to that Bacon Bullseye deck. Alright, and people have stopped crying about it. People have stopped saying that it's overpowered, it's OP and things like that. Right? Because we have moved on. We have moved on to Thanos terrorizing the meta. Right? And in midst of all this Kid Omega, in midst of this Kid Omega saga, people have also not been talking much about Thanos. Because hey, look, different decks have emerged. Different decks have emerged, right? Because people got sick of playing Thanos, people realize that hey, there are other decks that's as good as Thanos. I just have to play them and realize that oops, it's not that terrorizing at all. Okay? So the true fact of the matter is that the matter has never been defined by any card for extended periods of time. The meta comes, the meta goes. Alright? And you may be thinking, oh, Kid Omega is insanely strong, is insanely crazy. The true fact of the matter is, after some time, after a month, it's going to be over. It's going to be over. Alright? Iron Patriot on release was thought to be insanely strong. It blows over. Strange Supreme, people have been complaining about it, and in any case, Strange Supreme is not even that strong, right? People have been complaining about it, but hey, look, nobody is talking about Strange Supreme anymore. All right, it is possible to survive meta without having the meta card. I went through an entire season without Surge. I still do not have Surge, right? I still breeze into Infinite, right? So it is what it is. I do not have Merlin, right? And I still made Infinite easily this season. So yeah, just because you do not have the newest meta card does not mean you are not able to compete. You just have to be able to compete differently. You just have to be, you just have to find your way to make Infinite, get your shiny avatar if that's what you want. Alright, complete your events. Let's say it's an event that goes against it is a PvP kind of event, let's say leagues, then you have to find your ways to, deal with these things. Alright, and I think it's kind of sad when people say that, oh, I don't have the meta card, I can't compete. It's very sad because deck building games, card games, have traditionally been about trying to think out of the box, trying to outmaneuver your opponents instead of just, stepping into what everybody's playing. Now the other point is that even if you do not have the latest strongest card, why should you be crying about it if you are a free to play player? Why? Because look, you're not a part of the game building. You're not part of the game building in the sense that you're not funding them. So why are you so upset? You did not put in as much investments as other players did, as the paying customers did. So that's another thing that I just want to point out, that we shouldn't be so angry, we shouldn't be so outraged about. Now again, having said all this, I know at this point a lot of people are going to be very pissed. A lot of people are going to be saying that I'm just a bootlicker for second dinner. But the true fact of the matter is, it's the true fact of life. It's just reality. Alright? You can keep crying and keep saying that, hey, look, the price of a Mercedes, the price of a BMW is so expensive, right? But at the end of the day, you can keep crying about it, you can keep talking about it. You still have to cough out the money if you want to get that luxury car, right? Now, the next thing that I want to touch on is the game dying. A lot of people are saying that, look, it's obvious that, Second Dinner is doing a cash grab, they are going to move away from the game, they are looking at developing another game, etc., etc. Uh, I don't know. I don't work for Second Dinner. I don't have any matrix from them. I do not know. I do not attend their staff meetings. I do not know if the game is indeed dying. But what is obvious to me is the game is still being updated. We are still getting a lot of we're still getting a lot of new cards, even more. All right, we're getting a ton of new cards. Okay, so to me, is the game still worth playing? Yes, it is definitely still worth playing because it's still being updated. There's still a lot of fun to be had. There is still a lot of fun to be had. But is the game worth investing money into it? Investing a ton of commitment into it? Well, that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen because uh, it it could be their final, release of new cards, their final attempt to at a cash grab. I mean, that's the definition of a cash grab, right? So I do not know. I do not know, right? We really just have to see what happens, right? In terms of the future decision Second Dinner makes, okay, the how often the OTAs are coming in, right? Because what if you were to ask me, the definition of a game dying is whether the publisher continues to update the game, whether they continue to fine tune the game, all right, things that don't generate money, all right, their usual maintenance, are they still doing it, right? So that is how I would gauge. I don't think it is I don't think it is right to say that, oh, the game is dying, they are doing a cash grab, they're moving on to the next game, because look, Marvel Snap, Marvel in its whole IP, if you were to ask me, this game is still very, very profitable. Alright, this game, sorry, not profitable. This game can still be very, very profitable. It can still be insanely profitable if you were to ask me. So why would they want to give up this golden goose? Alright, it's a fantastic game. It's a very unique game. So they can still keep profiting. They can still make great profits of this game. Some people have said that the license is going to expire. It's probably going to expire in 2026. True. And look, if you were to ask me, I think it can still be very profitable to run this game, renew the license and all. So let's just see where it goes. I don't think it's fair to say that, oh, the game is dying, the game is dead. Let's just see what happens next. Now, let's move on to the most important thing, which is what we should be angry about. I think that Second Dinner's reply is very worrying, alright? In the sense that they have essentially ignored everybody this time round, right? And let's take for example, we know that Reddit is a community that Second Dinner don't really care about. We know that Reddit typically complains against Second Dinner. Discord, on the other hand, is a dictatorship. Most of the users there simply, for lack of a better word, defend and bootlick Second Dinner. But even this time round, Discord members are upset. Discord users are upset. They are speaking up against Second Dinner. But Second Dinner has chosen to still take a very, very hard stand. Second Dinner has still chosen to say, no, we didn't do anything wrong, right? So yeah, and this time round, there has been absolutely no compensation, right? The 2,500 votes that they are giving, which I don't think any one of us has received, right, is because of some bugs that was happening in terms of the mission resetting and all. Okay, so it's not a compensation for their policies, no. So essentially, Second Dinner has not apologized for whatever they are doing. Okay, their reply was simply, we are sorry that we didn't communicate that moving forward we are implementing harsher, more more monetization policies, right? And yep, that's it. So what scares me is Second Dinner seems to be, taking a very harsh stand right now. They don't really care. They don't care that people are speaking up against it, right? And that's what makes me kind of concerned. And this is what we should all be concerned and angry about. Is that second dinner don't seem to be caring about us anymore, the player base anymore, right? And if there is one reason to boycott or to quit the game, it is this. It is not because of the new monetization policies. It's not because of the new things that are being implemented, right? It's because um look, it's a little bit contradictory, but at the end of the day, we have to be realistic. We have to understand that a game can only survive if there's money coming in for the for the company, right? As to the extent of how we are willing to accept and all, it's really an individual thing, right? Let me quote you an example. A MOBA, all right? Honor of Kings, Mobile Legends, Bang Bang. I just started playing both of them pretty recently, right? In my first month with Honor of Kings Global, I've gotten almost every single hero, right? I've gotten 95% of the heroes without spending a single money. In my first month of playing Mobile Legends Bang Bang, I don't think I've even have 20% of the heroes, or maybe 15%. I don't know how many heroes there are in Mobile Legends, but basically I'm not even anywhere close to completing it, right? In terms of the emblem, right? Emblem is something that you have to upgrade, alright, to improve your character, your hero, right? In my first month, I've maxed out the emblem in Honor of Kings. In my first month with Mobile Legends, I'm not even anywhere close to maxing out one emblem. So that is what I mean when I talk about extent, alright? Both games, Honor of Kings and Mobile Legends, they are still wildly popular. They are still very, very popular games, right? So it is really the extent of what you want to do, how you want to take things, what you want to do as a player, all right? How much you're willing to accept, how much you're willing to recognize the fact that if you're free to play, you will always be lagging behind. You have to find other means to find you have to find other means to find pleasure, find happiness, find joy in the game, okay? Because it's a true fact of life. You can switch to other games, but if you're not willing to accept this, then it's just going to happen in another game, and yeah, that's just going to keep happening. If you were to ask me what's next for the game, well, quite literally, what's next is Sanctum Showdown, and I think this is going to be a very big indicator of yeah, sorry, not indicator, indication of what's going to happen next. How Second Dinner responds, right? Their first response have been very, very bad, and I don't know, right? This is going to be a huge testing point for them. If the pricing in Sanctum Showdowns turns out to be reasonable, then people are going to be alright, maybe let's hang around. Let's go to see what happens. And especially when we have Dormammu coming out next week. Okay, Dormammu is a very, very interesting card. It's a very exciting character that a lot of people are a lot of people like, a lot of people are definitely going to be talking about. Alright, so it's going to be a very, very interesting week. Alright, it's going to be a very, very interesting, exciting week to see what happens. Okay, if Second Dinner comes out with a good pricing in the Sanctum Showdown shop, then it's gonna pull back some people. It's good. A lot of people are going to be alright. Let's see what happens. Alright, let's see what happens next season. Alright, people are going to give Marvel Snap one more shot, one more month. Right? It's like a second chance in a relationship. No, things have not been banned, but I'm willing to stick around and see what happens. I'm willing to stick around and give you a shot at it. Okay, so the Sanctum Showdown pricing is going to be very, very critical for Second Dinner, in my opinion. Okay, if the pricing are fair, it's not going to solve the problem, but it's going to give them time extension, right? So that's what I believe. Now, in terms of strategy, I think that it is very critical. Something from this entire saga that nobody that has emerged, right? That has not been covered by anybody yet, because everyone is so is so happy about being angry, is having such a fun time lashing out, right? Is that it is important to save gold. It is important to save gold moving forward, because it looks like, like what I mentioned at the start of the video, Second Dinner has realized that we have a huge token stash, relatively, alright, and they want to extract more out of it. And the only way to, they don't want to extract more money out of their players. And the only way to do so right now, immediately, very quickly, is to get people to purchase gold. Because we are not we are not likely to purchase tokens, right? So they are moving towards making us purchase gold, which coincidentally, if you have not noticed, we have been getting pretty solid gold bundles recently, right? We have been getting pretty solid gold bundles. I think the most recent one is one featuring Death, that, if you are really into, let me just run my Marvel Snap on my phone, right? I think it features Death. If you are, if you are a variant collector, and, you know, you like collecting variants, it is a pretty good deal, right? Because you get a cool looking variant and you get some currency, right, that can move you along. So yeah. Oh wait, I think we can. Are we able to pull out something here? Whatever, my app. I've loaded the app. Right. So yeah, 5,000 gold, you get 3,000 tokens, 3,000 credits, and a dev variant. Right. So pretty good value if you were to ask me. Pretty good value, right? But it is a value that, I think most people will be happy to snap up, right? But in my opinion, moving forward, we need to be much more cautious about spending our gold, because it seems to me Second Dinner is going to extract our gold, right? Second Dinner has already drastically reduced our ability to accumulate gold as a free-to-play by taking out gold from the conquest rewards, right? But moving forward, I think that gold is going to be a very, very critical currency. Gold is going to be a very, very critical currency moving forward, because they want to extract as much as possible. They really want to extract as much as possible from players, and with players having a tokens stash, having a buffer, the only way for them to do it quickly is make us buy gold. Alright, so moving forward, I think we should be more, if you're a free-to-play player, okay, you should be, sorry, not just a free-to-play player, as a player, you should be more critical as to how you're going to spend your gold. Alright, you might want to be much more stingy, much more stringent as to how you spend your gold. Okay, and if you are a borderline spender, you might want to consider snapping up some gold passes first. Because I do think that there is a possibility that they raise the price on those bundles in future, right? Because if we need gold to participate in events, then it kind of makes sense for them to do so, right? Because that's the fastest way they can get their buck from us, right? So if you are a borderline spender, you are someone who if you're someone who looks to spend efficiently, right, to help you progress, I would say that you might, I'm not saying you should, you might want to consider, buying some gold first, buying some gold early, just in case they raise the pricing, because that is something I can see happening. Now, a lot of you are going to be upset at me for raising this suggestion, because you guys are getting out your pitchfork and saying, no, we are not going to give second dinner any more money. That's your decision. It is also my decision, because I've only given second dinner money twice, buying the Miles Morales season pass, buying the Sebastian Shaw season pass, and that's all. That's all. That's the only two times I've actually spent anything on this game. That is your decision. What I'm saying is, moving forward, this is something that I see potentially happening, right? And if you are a free to play player, then obviously save your goal, right? Be a lot more stringent. If you are already spending, you are a small spender, right? Looking to move your progress in this game efficiently, then this is something that you might want to do, right? Because in future you might not be able to spend the same amount of money to get the same amount of outcome, to get the same results. Then in that case you might want to create a reserve for yourself in that sense, right? But in no way am I encouraging anyone to change your spending habits. I'm just pointing out the fact that moving forward, I think gold is going to be very, very critical, right? Gold is going to be a very important currency, especially if you want cards, if you want new cards fast, right? Because if they're going to keep repeating this thing whereby they do an event, the new card is gated behind, you need gold, some gold to unlock it, then gold is going to become the premium currency. Gold is going to be very, very important, right? So that's it for me with regards to this entire Kid Omega saga. Okay. TLDR, I do not think that we should be very upset about how they choose to the the the, the crazy ass monetization policies that they are implementing. Uh, because look, we are still getting our I'm not a second dinner show, right? But the true fact of the matter is we are still getting 4 to 5 new cards every month to play with, all right? And we are in a much better acquisition compared to when we are in the spotlight, all right? So we still get more cards to play with every month, right? And that is something to be happy about. That is something to be that is something we should enjoy, all right? And if you're gonna be upset because you can't have every single card, every single new card as a free to play, then I do not know, all right? Let's be realistic. Let's be real, all right? How many cards do you actively play? How many cards do you actively play, right? You you don't actively play every single card, all right? So yes, there are cards that after collecting, you just dump it there. So why do you have to have every single card? It's just being greedy. All right, both sides are being greedy. You can choose to not have that card. Honestly, you can choose to not have that card. All right, I'm not defending second dinner again. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying that, hey, you would be a lot happier if you choose to have that perspective, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts, right? There's still a lot of positive to be drawn from the game, right? But having said that, it is very worrying that second dinners is taking a very assertive stand. They are not they don't even want to pacify the player base. They don't even care about maintaining the good relationship, and that is what concerns me, right? It's not their overly aggressive monetization policies. It's not. It's the fact that they don't seem to care about the player base anymore, right? That is going to be the reason why the game dies. Okay, because if this is the attitude that they're going to have, then there is a very, very good chance that they stop updating as regularly. They don't really care about the balance of the game anymore. And these are the things that's going to kill the game, not heavy monetization, right? Because the game has already proven, okay, that you do not need the newest card to win. You do not need the newest card to stay relevant in the meta. Okay? You really do not. You really do not. Okay? Unless you're talking about, going all the way to rank number 1, top 50, top 20, top 100. Well, in that case, I have to ask you again, if you are free to play, then why are you expecting all this? Right? It costs a lot to be competitive, right? Regardless any game. Regardless any game. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate, I know I'm gonna get a lot of flake, I know a lot of people are gonna come out and say that, this person is, a sim for second dinner, this person is a bootlicker, this person is retard, but that's really my thoughts. That's really my thoughts on the whole matter. Okay? We have to be realistic. We have to be realistic. We need to be very realistic. The game is still in a better position, in a better place in terms of the new cards that we are able to get. Alright, the additional cards that we are able to get since moving from the acquisition from the spotlight system. So yeah, I don't think I don't think the game is dead. I don't think the game is necessarily dead. It really depends on how second dinner move forward from here. That's it from me, guys. I know that this is definitely a lot of people are going to come out and say that I suck, but it is what it is.